Hi, my name is Zenka Vess, and today I want to talk about Kingdom Hearts, my favorite video game franchise. Happy March Caprice, by the way. Have you ever thought about how powerful Sora really is? I mean, a boy that can, I don't know, cut through buildings like it's nothing. Being only 15 years old sounds like a lot to me. Or a boy that can face 3 titans from the Greek mythology, and not only he gets out alive, but he beats them. Did I ever mention those millions of times he defeated the literal god of the underworld from the same Greek mythology? I mean, fine, most of these times Sora was not alone, being also accompanied by the son of Zeus and by one of the strongest mages in the Square Enix universe. And Goofy is also there. But yeah, you got the point. So, to answer my first question, how powerful is Sora really? Well, he's at least pretty strong, you may say. I mean, to be honest, I do want to make a video about how strong each of the main characters from Kingdom Hearts are. But today, I've got myself thinking about the way we grind to level 99 and in the next game Sora's weak as fuck. Some of the games explain better how his powers go away, like in Chain of Memories, where Naminé makes him forget about all of his abilities the moment he steps into Castle Oblivion. Or like in DDD, where in the end of that game, Sora almost becomes a vassal for Master Xehanort and also loses most of his powers. But how about the keychains? They're not a power, they're items. Where do they go between each K8 game? The logical answer for this question would be,
Yeah, actually, they will input the keychains of a previous game in the next one. So the Disney world's not even there. Plus, Sora will be too strong in the beginning of the game, so they have to nerf him.
and yes, that's right. But I mean, canonically, where are Sora's keychains? Not only Sora's, but where are the keychains that Terra, Aqua, and Ven, and even Riku got in the games they were playable? Some people tend to argue that most of the keychains we get in-game are not canon, aside from those that are shown lore-wise like Oathkeeper, Oblivion, Ends of the Earth, and those keychains that are unique for specific characters, like Lost Memory for Ventus or Sunfall for Aqua. Even the KH Wiki seems to agree with that. But I don't like this idea. In my point of view, I like to think that gameplay elements are also canon the majority of the games that I play. I mean, you can see the keychains you're wearing in cutscenes in most of the games, and the same goes for Sora's dry forms in Cage 2. So, if we take it like the keychains are indeed canon, to understand where they go between each game, first we need to understand what are they and how Sora and the others get there in their journeys. What do the games can tell us about keychains? According to the Dream Drop Distance glossary about Keyblades, special keychains allow the Keyblade's appearance and performance to be altered. And that's it. Really. The only thing else is if we count the gameplay tutorials that say that keeping a keychain alters the power and appearance of your Keyblade. In other words, the same thing as the glossary, and that's it. So according to what we have, these special keychains have a mystical connection to the Keyblade that changes its aspects. If we want to learn more about it, we have to see every single time a character get a keychain in the games to see if there is some kind of logic in that. Let's start with the first game in the series, Kingdom Hearts 1 from 2002. Believe it or not, KH1 is the game where most is shown about keychains. The first ever keychain that we have access in this game, aside from the original form of Sora's Keyblade, the Kingdom Key, is the Jungle King keychain, obtained after sealing the keyhole in Deep Jungle. After that, SDG reunites with Tarzan and Jane in the tent at the camp, and Tarzan says, "Sora, Tarzan, friends," and boom, you get the keychain. So we can assume that Tarzan gave it to Sora as a way to express his gratitude for the help with Clayton and the Heartless problem. The token Jungle King's keychain is what it seems to be a blue butterfly with orange wing tips, and looks nothing like the butterflies we see around the keyhole in Deep Jungle, aside from the fact they're both blue. And to be honest, this token looks more like a ribbon to me, but I get that it's a butterfly because in the concept art of the Jungle King, we can see that it really looks more like it. Still not like the ones around the keyhole though. But I don't know, let's just say that Tarzan catch another kind of butterfly and move on. The second keychain is the 3 wishes in Agrabah. After Sora seals the keyhole there, Aladdin wishes for Genie's freedom and gives the empty lamp to Sora, which he uses as his keychain. That one is pretty straightforward and we can see a literal object being used as the keychain. The same happens with the Pumpkin Head, the Crab Claw, Spellbinder, Divine Rose, and Oathkeeper that Kairi gives to Sora in the secret waterway in Traverse Town. Olympia, Wishing Star, Lady Luck, and Oblivion are inside chests, with Oblivion being the physical representation of Sora's connection with Riku. So I guess we can say Riku had a token like Sora's necklace and tossed it away into a chest in Hollow Bastion when the darkness started to take control of him? I'll go with that because I don't see any other way around. I mean, it can't be Sora's real necklace because he's still wearing it after he acquires the Oblivion keychain. And if it is something that just appeared in Hollow Bastion, why inside a chest? See? There is no sense. Now, the keychains we don't know for sure how Sora gets them are the Fairy Harp, Metal Chocobo, Lion Heart, Diamond Dust, and One Winged Angel, while the ultimate weapon was synthesized by the Muggles. Fairy's Harp's token is the red feather from Peter Pan's head, so we can assume he gave it to Sora. The Metal Chocobo resembles too much Cloud's Buster Sword, so maybe we can also say that Cloud gave the Chocobo token to Sora after being beaten by the Keyblade again. Lionheart's keychain is Squall's River necklace, so it's easy to assume it was also a gift for Sora. Now, Diamond Dust and One Winged Angel are a mystery. Why would the Ice Titan give Sora a keychain, or why would Sephi fucking Roth give that 14 years old his... wing? How would his wing get that small? Well, I think these keychains were not given by Sora's opponents, but by Phil. You see? The fights against both bosses are called Gold Match and Platinum Match, obviously organized by the people who work at the Olympus Coliseum, and these people are just Phil. I think those keychains are rewards for whoever wins those matches, created by whoever whom just as celebrative tokens, a proof of the victory against some of the most powerful foes that ever stepped into Olympus. In Days, most of the keychains are synthesized by the organization Moogle, so there's not much secret about that. When Roxas or Xion are wielding their joke weapons, it's simply not a Keyblade, just like Roxas has to fight using a stick at some point of the game. As for how Oathkeeper and Oblivion appear in that game, I'll talk about that in a moment. In the Gold KH2, we first get Star Seeker from the Three Fairies in the Mysterious Tower. Since this was Mickey's original Keyblade before he took possession of the Kingdom Key D, one can argue he left his original one with his master Yen Sid. The thing about keychains in this game is that all of them we just have to assume where Sora got them, and it's pretty easy to do so. Hidden Dragon's keychain is the crest Mulan receives from the Emperor after saving him in the original animation movie, so we can assume that it's given to Sora instead, or that Mulan gave it to him in the game. Hero's Crest is the Olympus Stone that prevents SDG from getting the curse in the underworld. Guardian Soul is Zoran's Boat of Sake that he probably gives it to 15 years old? Alright. Photon Debugger is an identity disc that Tron gives to Sora, and I would argue that it's not Tron's, otherwise he wouldn't be able to wield it in combat anymore. Mysterious Abyss is another shell from Maria's collection of junk that she gives to Sora. Wishing Lamp is once again Genie's lamp. Circle of Life is Rafiki's drawing of the baby Simba that Sora probably cut out from the stone, or someone did it before, gave it to Simba, and Simba ends up gifting it to Sora as a memory of their friendship or whatever. Sweet Memories is a literal dead bee that Poop gives to Sora. Sleeping Lions once again Squall's River necklace. Fatal Crest is a trophy from completing the Hades Cup, and Go Wings a token inside the chest that the Go Wings gives to Sora. The Bond of Flame keychain has a token that looks exactly like Exo Chakrams, but come on, the keychain's too tiny to actually be Exo Chakrams. If you take a good look at it, you will see that the Bond of Flame keychain is actually Pandora's gear from KH Days. That is also the gear that makes the playable Sora's Keyblade look like, well, Bond of Flame. So, I would say that Exo was carrying this gear synthesized by the organization Moogle when he blew himself up. And he was not equipped with it because he was already using the Zero Gear, that bears the weapon form of his Eternal Flame Chakrams. So, after he died, Sora took it. 2 become 1 is just Roxas' necklace that Sora takes after defeating him inside his own heart, whatever sense this makes, but I guess it's better than nothing. Fenrir is a medal that Tifa gives to Sora after the help with the Sephiroth problem. Winner's Proof is given by the 13 Mushroom Heartless, and the Ultima weapon is synthesized by the Moogles once more. Now, before we jump to the big guns, I just couldn't find any reasonable explanation for 4 of the 6 remaining keychains. First, let's start with the Rumbling Rose. It can't be THE Rose, you know what I mean? When you receive this keychain, the rose is in Zaldin's possession, so it just couldn't be the real deal. And why would the Beast carry a replica of such a thing? None of this makes sense to me. And what about the Decisive Pumpkin? How the fuck is Zero a keychain? Is Sora really kidnapping a ghost dog? Alright, fine, maybe it's just a token that Jack made based on his dog Zero and gifted to Sora, but why would I think that? Nonetheless, that's what we're gonna take as the answer. As for one can argue that its token is really the ship wheel from the Steamboat Willie, but the size is also not the same. But this one I could accept due to the fact that Timeless River is shown as a world where Toon Force is a thing, so maybe the wheel just got tiny for Sora to take it? But Follow the Wind is the real mystery though. Port Royal itself is a world full of mysteries, like if Jack Sparrow is now a Keyblade wielder or not. The keychain from this world is one of the Aztec medallions from the cursed treasure in Isla de la Muerte, but how can Sora take one with him and not be cursed by it? Maybe his magical clothes protects him from curses. After all, during the whole game we don't see him being cursed by dark magic or something like that at any point in the story. But that's the only answer I could reach. This is forcing too much bullshit either way in my opinion. Now, Oblivion is recovered when Sora reunites with Riku in the world that never was, so I'll keep with the thinking that this is a token Riku holds dear and is never shown, because this just being a keychain that manifested by pure power of friendship is actually okay for a Kingdom Hearts game, but inconsistent with the fact that in KH1, Oblivion is found inside a chest in Hollow Bastion. So Riku gives Oblivion to Sora and we move on. For last but not least in KH2 keychains, we have Oathkeeper. I wanted to save this one for last because it has some great proof that the keychains are indeed objects, because Oathkeeper is Kairi's good luck charm that she made inspired by a Palpo fruit, being some kind of wayfinder. She gives it to Sora in KH1 as we talked about before, and it remains with him until the very ending of KH2, where Sora finally gives it back to Kairi as he promised he would do 1 year prior. And what a perfect ending scene for a game, my friends. So, we at least know that while Sora was asleep in the pod, recovering his memories, Kairi's Wayfinder was with him. So how can Roxas summon both Oathkeeper and Oblivion in Days? Well, Roxas has the Sync Blade ability due to the fact that he's the nobody of Sora, a Keyblade wielder that is living simultaneously as his nobody. And Sora has the second heart of a Keyblade wielder inside of his, that being Ventus's. Xian's existence was affecting Roxas' usage of this ability because she was also draining power from Sora's heart and memories. But when she's deleted from existence in the end of days, Roxas can finally pull up his 2 big guns. As to why he can wield Oathkeeper in Oblivion specifically, is mostly because that's the final and strongest form of the Zero Gear keychain when attached with 3 ability units. Of course, there's a very symbolic explanation with that too, and I could not say it better than this Redditor.
Another thing to keep in mind besides aesthetics is that Oathkeeper represents Kairi and her heart of pure light, while Oblivion represents Riku and his succumbing to darkness. Because Kairi and Riku are so strongly tied to Sora, when Roxas finally unlocks his full potential, These keyblades representing Sora's determination are the ones that show up.
I would jump from Listen Coded and DDD keychains because one of them is set in a virtual world, so whatever the rules, and the other is set in literal dreams, so also whatever the rules. BBS, Cage 3 and the Union Cross compilation, in the other hand, are set in the real world, but I'll talk about their keychains later. First of all, Keyblades are all about hearts and its emotions. So the bare concept of a Keyblade being about a heart, and a heart being all about connections in the KH universe, we can safely say with what we know that a keychain that can indeed change a Keyblade's appearance and attributes is an object filled with pure emotions that a Keyblade wielder has access to. That's why in Cage 1, most of the keychains are personal belongings that Sora's friends give to him as gifts and signs of gratitude, respect, and friendship for the connection they made along their journey in that world. So that means that said Keyblade wielder probably must have some sort of feeling or connection towards that object too, and the form that the Keyblade takes is based on those feelings and memories, and that's why its appearance and abilities are all based on the world or the person they originally belong to. So how about the ultimate weapon synthesized by the Muggles? Or all the gears in Days? Well, I am very sure that both the Muggles and Sora would have very strong feelings towards all the work to gather the materials to synthesize the ultimate weapon. Am I right? And as for the gears, I think they're just vessels for Sora's memories and feelings for Roxas and Xion to wield, giving form to them, and that's why some of them are Sora's keychains like Oathkeeper and Oblivion, and most of them are named towards some very deep thoughts like Pain of Solitude, Sign of Innocence, or Missing Egg. I also think that middle way into Roxas' adventure, he starts to develop his own strong feelings, and most of his keychains are shaped after his own emotions. As shown both in Cage 3, BBS, and in the Union Cross compilation, keychains can also evolve with its users, be it for literal upgrade made by someone like the Muggles, or by a state of heart like what happened with Terra's End of the Earth and Aqua's Stormfall. Speaking about Terra and Aqua, let's start talking about their keychains and finally reach some conclusions as to where they were gone between the events of BBS and the later games. Terra's Earthshaker, the original form of his Keyblade, evolves to Ends of the Earth after he bequeaths the Keyblade to Riku in Destiny Islands before Terra's final fight in the Keyblade Graveyard. That's the Keyblade his mind keeps when his body is stolen by Master Xehanort, and the one he keeps until he retrieves his heart and body in Cage 3. As for all the other keychains he gathered during the events of BBS, they were stuck into his pockets, so... Yeah, Terra, you got robbed by the Oak Coat! I like to think that since Xehanort has no emotion connections with those keychains, they wouldn't work on his Keyblade, so he just threw them away or whatever. I also think that both the Dark Gnaw and the Chaos Reaper are evolutions of Terra's original Earthshaker, because both the keychains and the overall appearance of the Keyblades themselves are very similar. Like the darkness inside his heart started to change the way he saw his own Keyblade, and the gazing eye is there because Xehanort was the reason for most of Terra's darkness. We see during the Cage 3 finale that Terra's current Keyblade is... Earthshaker? What? Why is that? It's so disgusting! What they did to my boy Terra? Either way, this could mean that since Terra's heart was weakened, his Keyblade returns to its original form. Nobody asked for that. Aqua's Rainfall evolves to Stormfall after she meets Sora and Riku in Destiny Islands before the final clash of the Keyblade Graveyard. Brightcrest keychains her Wayfinder. I have no idea how she can wield Destiny's Embrace since Kairi doesn't even know what a Purple Fruit is yet, and the Master's Defender is a whole another Keyblade. In the secret episode during the events of KHBBS, Aqua is forced to wield the Master's Defender Keyblade, as we as players cannot equip any other keychain whatsoever. So when her armor broke up when she fell to the Realm of Darkness, I think most of her belongings were also there, and she doesn't equip the Brightcrest keychain because its stats are weaker than the Master's Defenders and our goddess Aqua is not dumb. In the end of Cage 3, Aqua is seen putting Master's Defender to rest with her Wayfinder, so she has no keychains anymore. We can assume that Aqua's Keyblade current form is Stormfall, because if she retrieved her armor from the Chamber of Repose, I don't see why she wouldn't have also taken her Keyblade back. Ventus is somewhat harder to understand where he's at when speaking about his Keyblade state. We have no reason to believe he lost his keychains at any point of Birth by Sleep, since we can wield whatever keychain we wanted to the very last fight of the game. And after that, Vanitas takes his body while wielding the Keyblade, and Aqua manages to beat him down alongside King Mickey. Next time we see Ventus, he's taking a nap at the Chamber of Waking, so yeah, there is no reason to believe he doesn't have his keychains anymore. Maybe in the moment he was frozen his armor broke up, some of his belongings were also destroyed, because from that point onward, we can't change our keychain anymore. During the KH3 story, we see Ventus wielding his regular Wayward Wind, so the most I could say is that Aqua took off all of his belongings before putting him in the Chamber of Waking. Maybe she put the keychains on his room, or maybe she lost them all when she was cast to the Realm of Darkness. There is no explanation for this show in game, so I did what I could. Plot hole, guys, welcome to Kingdom Hearts! As for Ventus's lost memory keychain, I get that this is a manifestation of the memory he remembers about Vanitas' origin, and how this keychain represents them not being completed while coexisting. But I don't see how he got this. Since it's an internal deep arc, I could accept that the keychain just showed up on his hand after the conversation with the Edgy Sora. Frolic Flame is just... well, we don't know either. First I thought it was like a piece of Leah's frisbee that broke during his sparring with Ventus, but the design doesn't match. Maybe Lee wants people to remember him by tossing them some kind of token? I don't know, it makes zero sense. How could people think that this is canon and Disney keychains are not? Also, did you know that Ventus once had the Missing Egg keychain? Yeah, that's in Union Cross. I have no reason to believe that this is the original form of his Keyblade other than the Wayward Wind, because other people have wielded Missing Egg, while only Ventus wields the Wayward Wind. And also, his battle stance makes no sense if Missing Egg is his original Keyblade. Some of the Disney keychains in Birth by Sleep really don't make any sense. Take the Stroke of Midnight for an example. How are there 3 Cinderella's glass slippers? Total bogus. I can see this being an exclusive keychain for Aqua, but not wielded by the others. Treasure Trove is a gift from the dwarves, so Terra doesn't get it. I can see Fairy Stars being a keychain that both Aqua and Ventus got from the fairies, so Terra doesn't get it again, because he never met the fairies. The keychain's tokens the 3 fairies' heads stacked together, so as they are magical creatures, they could easily shrink their heads and then clone another pair, or whatever. Victory Line is the one all of them get from finishing the races in first place in Disney Town. Sweet Stack is an ice cream prize for making all flavors of ice cream also in Disney Town. Mark of a Hero, we have to assume that exists more than a single Olympus Stone, otherwise Sora wouldn't get it both in KH1 and KH2. Hyperdrive is a blaster, Pixie Paddle is a red feather like the one from Peter Pan's hat that he gives one to each single one of the trio. Void Gear is just the keychain they took from Vanitas' Remnant's corpse before it vanished. They did the same to young Xehanort to catch the no-name keychain, not this one, but this no-name. Royal Radiance is a prize they received from Mirage Arena, and the same can be said about the Ultimate Weapon in its first canonical appearance in the franchise. Okay, now that we know where we're at with the Wayfinder Trio keychains, let's go to the KH Days characters. First off, Xion is no more, so she lost everything she had. When she's back in KH3, she's only wielding her Data Keyblade. All the other organization members are wielding their Zero Gears until they're defeated in Chain of Memories, KH2 and KH3, and Broxis is connected to the simulated Twilight Town, so of course these nuts, being the racist he is, would take Roxas stuff from him. In KH3, Broxis is shown wielding Oathkeeper and Oblivion, so if he doesn't have his Zero Gear anymore, how would that happen? Ansem is not that dumb to just throw Roxas stuff away at the trash. After all, he is the wise. So he gives the vessel where Roxas' heart will inhabit back with his stuff, including the Zero Gear, and the Zero Gear being the strongest one, of course he would choose that one. Or maybe since the Zero Gear was the last keychain Roxas had equipped on his Keyblade, it remained active even after his disappearance. In the end of Cage 1, the level 99 Sora travels with Donald and Goofy to the Castle Oblivion in search for Riku and King Mickey, and at the moment they step inside that castle, all of the abilities and magic they learned throughout their journey are forgotten. All of their belongings, like consumable items such as potions, ethers, and elixirs, are immediately transformed into cards. And so do Sora's keychains, right? So why Kairi's good luck charm is there like a normal object? I think that since they forgot about those things, Sora could literally have forgotten that he had keychains at all. This was certainly not a dear and important memory like Kairi's Wayfinder, or that Jiminy Cricket was writing a journal about their journey. And since Sora awakens in Cage 2 with his memories of his adventure in Cage 1, it makes no sense to why he would not use his old keychains. So, this means Sora must have lost his access to those keychains between the first game and his awakening in Cage 2. But how? If we think about it, the first time we see Sora draw his Keyblade in Castle Oblivion, he has no keychain attached to it. It's his regular Kingdom Key. So that means that he lost his keychain before that, or that his keychains immediately turned into cards in the moment he stepped into Castle Oblivion. And the reason for why Kairi's Wayfinder wouldn't also be instantly turned into a card is because the organization had plans with that good luck charm, so they could manipulate Sora into believing the person he most cared about was Naminé. That makes at least some sense to me, and I'll go with that. What doesn't make any sense in this theory though, is where are Donald and Goofy save the Queen and King? I mean, why are they not using their strongest weapons? But I think that the organization would also turn their weapons into cards, and the weapons they carry when their friend card is used is nothing but a manifestation of their memory, and they, of course, have more remembrance about their original weapons than the ones they bought or synthesized along their short journey or just some couple of weeks. Donald's and Goofy's weapons are also magically summoned, as we can see clearly in Cage 3. So let's just take that manifestation of their signature weapons' memories remained with them, because I don't think the organization would just give their real weapons back. And it's not like the memories manifestations in Castle Oblivion aren't actually real. I mean, Sora can literally die by the hits of fake Heartless or fake Disney villains, and in Cage 2, Donald and Goofy are wearing their adventure clothes instead of the classic one they were using before stepping inside Castle Oblivion. That makes sense to me. Clear case. Now let's dive into Cage 2 ending, where Sora has everything from his journey in that game except for Kairi's Wayfinder Oathkeeper. For me, it's pretty clear he doesn't want to carry his stuff with him and just take it to his home in the islands, as memories of the journey he had with his friends among dozens of worlds. Dream Drop Distance takes place inside a dream, so of course Sora would not be able to take his regular keychains he gets there with him to the real world, and even less because there is also time travel involved. And the same goes for Riku. Encoded is not even Sora, so we don't even have to talk about that. But in the end of DDD, Sora almost becomes a vessel for Zehanor's heart, and he loses most of his powers he acquired in Cage 2 and Cage DDD. Some of them do remain, like the flow motion technique that Sora can now do in the real world, the Gay Blade, the water magic we can see him casting in 2.9, in Olympus, the first world we visit in Cage 3. So, what will they do about Sora's powers and keychains for Cage 4? That's not that hard to reach an answer. In the secret episode of the Remind DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, we fight Yozora while in a night version of the final world, and after the canon ending where we defeat him, some way Sora gets to Quadratum. During the fight with Yozora, Sora can use all of the resources he gathered along the journey in Cage 3, and that includes summons like Simba, Ariel, Stitch, so that means they know where Sora was last seen, but that's not the point here. The point is, you have all of your keychains available to be used during this fight, but Sora is dead, straight up dead. When he reincarnates to Quadratum, who says he has all of his stuff? It's pretty clear to me that he's back at level 1, most of his powers went away after the reincarnation and he's not in possession of his stuff anymore. Are the stuff he wields and uses during the fight with Yozora even real? I don't think so.
None of this makes sense to me.
That's it for today, folks. I hope you liked the video. I've been having these weird thoughts for a long time because I play a lot of tabletop RPG, and the most of them I play as the GM, and well, some of them are about Kingdom Hearts. Or at least I use some KH elements like the rules for hearts and world traveling. So I always try to make things consistent in these campaigns. So I had to think about these little explanations all the time for how a Keyblade wielder character could get a keychain, or how to D-level the player's first sequence to a previous KH campaign. I just thought this could make for a fun video about some useless theories, and that's pretty much it. Someday I do want to make a video about if Aqua and Riku still have their magic and abilities they got during their journeys, but that will have to be for another day. I also plan to make a video explaining some of the KH universe elements, like how time traveling works or why Roxas look like Ventus. All of this compiled into a single video. No theories, just what the game tells us. So, nonetheless, thanks for sticking around to the end, and happy March Caprice. Cheers!